am Sith King.
And I'm Sonic Sons.
We're the Rambling Reviewers.
And today we're looking at Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
2019.
Yes, because there are two of those.
Yeah,
there are so many Godzilla films, they have to start recycling subtitles.
Well, I think it's just a callback to the original
Godzilla
Godzilla
it's meant
film.
to be a callback, whatever.
Anyways, so, I think I need a cigarette. Because, goddamn. One complaint that was said about the first film was there weren't enough monster fights or enough of the monsters.
When we say first film, not the first Godzilla. This film is a sequel to Godzilla 2014.
Which we also reviewed 5 years ago.
Yeah, jeez, it's been a while. Okay.
Yeah, anyways. So we reviewed that then, and one complaint that some people had about it was there were too much of the human characters and not enough of the monsters. This one cannot say the same.
There were a lot of monster fights.
Oh, yes.
We had 4 primary monsters, several others doing cameos.
Multiple huge fights between monsters.
We had like Godzilla versus Rodan. No, Godzilla versus Ghidorah.
That was a 3-part battle.
Yeah. And then we had like Rodan and Ghidorah. And then we had Godzilla and Ghidorah again. And then Mothra versus Rodan. And just like everyone's fighting everybody. And it was big and epic and all that good stuff.
Indeed it was. So it was frustrating at parts because this was pretty transparently an excuse plot. Blah, 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 the humans are doing stuff. Screw this, get to the monster fights, which are rendered lovingly. But yeah, the plot doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I mean, I've seen worse excuse plots. It didn't feel like completely wall-bangery, just more like hollow. Like, alright, I get what fine.
Yeah.
The wall banger of it though was Emma Russell, who is meant to be.
Fuck this stupid fucking bitch, and I am glad she's in hell.
Yeah, they tried to make a sympathetic villain out of someone who's trying to genocide the human race for no good reason.
Yeah, the last time someone tried to do that, Deep Space Nine had to go back and make an episode specifically to state, no, Gul Dukat was really fucking bad, guys. Stop making him sympathetic.
I didn't know they ever made Gul Dukat sympathetic. I don't know much about it.
No, there was a bunch of fan love for the character, and they thought he was much better than he was. They had to base... Look, guys, if you want a character to be sympathetic, maybe don't have them refer to humans as a virus.
Yeah.
Generally, only the most irredeemable of villains do that.
Yeah, that would be Agent Smith right there.
Or Vaccine Man from One Punch Man. And generally, the characters who One Punch Man splatters, they don't tend to be of the redeemable type.
No, the redeemable types go and get real jobs.
Yeah. Funnily enough, the Mosquito Girl from that, she went and she survived her episode and actually joined with the DNA Clone Master guy.
Oh, House of Evolution guy. Yeah.
And got a job with him.
Oh, well,
I mean, okay, she was already working for him, but she got a
real
legitimate job with him.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of non-canon, but I prefer to think that happened. Oh. Anyways, on to think... But I suppose we should start at the beginning and tell what...
Okay. So, in the beginning,
there was nothing.
There was nothing. And then the universe is done. In the beginning, for this whatever thing, they tell us about San Francisco 2014. I mean, I don't know if it was 2014 in their world.
Yes,
but anyway,
it was 2014.
San Francisco 2014. And Godzilla has just finished killing the Mutos. He's heading back to the ocean. And everyone's in a panic because a lot of stuff has been smashed. And Mr. Main Character from last movie doesn't show up. So, hey, it's cool. He was pretty boring.
Yeah.
Thing is, though, he was so boring, I couldn't be sure if he was in there or not. I'm like, oh, there's a guy walking around. Is that the guy from 5 years ago or not?
See, but the creepy... I'm really glad that him and his wife didn't show up. Because they play Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh, really?
So they're brother and sister there.
You know,
which
in the
don't bring up
comics,
the Ultimate Universe. We know about the Ultimate Universe and how they're in a relationship despite being twins. We all know it's fucking creepy. We all are glad that they died because it made it.
Did they die?
Yeah,
I have not kept tabs on the Ultimate Universe.
I keep tags on all sources of incredible creepiness and hope that they die.
Interesting. So
I don't actually do that, but yeah, Ultimatum was not.
Point is, they skipped off. I'm glad they did not keep up with the main character from last time because he was totally forgettable.
Yeah.
So this time we've got. I had to look up his name, but Mark Russell and his wife Emma, and they had 2 kids, and one is Andrew, and he apparently died.
He died in the Godzilla attack on San Francisco in 2014, and that's what informs and motivates our characters' actions.
And the daughter's
theoretically,
and the daughter's name is Madison.
Emma and Madison. Yeah, that combination of names has never gone badly for anyone in history. Isn't that right, Taylor Hebert?
Yes.
Oh, you're just missing Sophia, or Shadowstalker, as she's also known. Spoilers for Worm.
Yeah.
Anyways, so what happens is that we're shown this congressional hearing where the people of Monarch are like, so Monarch is uniquely suited to, checking out and making sure all these monsters aren't dangerous. Yeah, and the government then says, yeah, okay, that's nice and all, but we didn't ask you any of that.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Mr. Exposition, but...
We asked you, please give us a reason why we shouldn't turn over all of your stuff to the military and we just kill these monsters.
Who the hell is Monarch anyway? Are they an agency of the U.S. government?
Yeah,
because they don't seem to answer to, the president or anybody in this entire plot.
Yeah, I don't really understand.
They seem to be like a self-funded organization with infinite money that can cross borders whenever the hell they like.
And yet have military support and can command around the U.S. military.
I mean, yeah, eventually. I mean, the military launches that one missile without their permission. That comes up later.
Yeah. And then they ask an important question, saying... Knowing that these monsters can and will roam around, destroy cities, and slaughter thousands to millions of people in one go, why shouldn't we have every reason to believe that the military should find these monsters and kill them while they sleep before they all wake up and destroy us all? To which Monarch cleverly sits down, thinks carefully, and says, nuh-uh, and provides no other reason other than... They keep the balance. Well, again, no evidence.
Yeah.
Not an iota of proof that things are going on.
Sakagawa, I want to say.
Saragawa.
Dang it, I did it again. Okay, so Saragawa says, we believe some of these creatures may be benevolent, with no evidence. And it wouldn't have been super hard for the writers to be like, well, we looked in the ancient texts, and whenever the crops went bad, the people would pray to Mothra, and then Mothra would wake up and, fix everything. And that is our basis for believing that Mothra, and possibly some of the others, are nice people who will help us out. And then they would have something of an argument. But this never comes up for some reason.
Maybe if I saw Kong Skull Island, which admittedly I should, because it takes place in this same universe, and they bring it up a couple times. Kong just doesn't show up in the movie. If it works at all like like it did in the original King Kong movies, humans did coexist with King Kong. Making sacrifices to him and providing offerings, and in exchange, Kong would protect the people from the giant monsters. That was a great example of monsters and humans coexisting with one another. But they don't bring that up at all, and I haven't seen Kong Skull Island, so I don't know if...
Right, even if they did establish something useful in that regard, they should have mentioned it in this movie for the people that did not see Kong Skull Island.
Yeah. Anyway, then we flash over to Emma and Madison, who are in a kitchen where Madison is sending an email to her dad about, yeah, I'm kind of worried about Mom. They're right to. They're right to be worried about her mom.
It was never actually made clear if they're divorced or what.
He said ex-wife.
Oh, he did say that at one point? Okay, so yeah they're divorced because, whatever. They had reasons for divorcing. It's not super important. Point is, they live in different houses.
Well, I'm guessing it happened in the wake of their son dying of Godzilla.
Right, but at that particular death, he had no reason to blame Emma, so he just was too upset and he couldn't handle the grief or something.
Yeah, but that can affect a relationship very strongly, even if it's no one's fault.
Yeah, it can. Anyway.
And then it's revealed that they're in China, next to an Aztec temple.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I have heard this pyramid concept was, several different cultures came up with that independently. But wow, that one thing really looked like an Aztec temple from my first glance.
Okay, admittedly, we're not experts on Chinese architecture.
Yeah,
We
so
don't know
maybe-
if there were temples like this. But here's my question. Why is this not taking place on Hope Island or wherever Mothra is supposed to be? Because I'm pretty damn sure that Mothra was not native to China.
Man, I guess
She
it
was native to this special island with her own tribe and like this group of twin
Yeah.
midgets twin fairy people.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that you're rebooting the universe. But later on, they show that this one character who has a connection to Monarch had ancestors who were all twins visiting this island that Mothra is known to come from in the original Source universe. So, if you're going to include these nods to Mothra's backstory, why not include Mothra's backstory? I'm not complaining, I'm just confused as to the directorial choices.
Honestly, I can only assume this is one of those things where they shoehorn in China because China has become a bigger market for movie watchers.
Yeah.
Like, they did that in Transformers, I want to say 4, maybe 3, whichever one it was.
They did it in 2, I think, possibly 3. I don't know. They did it, whatever.
There's too many Transformers movies.
There are entirely too many Transformers movies. Anyways, and it turns out that this egg thing is about to hatch.
So that's cool. And
they're
coincidentally, Emma has just perfected this device called the Orca.
which allows them to broadcast a message that basically calms down monsters.
Yeah, I guess.
It's not really clear what Orca does other than send out a signal.
It sends... I think it can send a couple different signals, and one of them is the calm the frick down signal, which apparently all the Titans use the same language, despite clearly being different species. But okay. I mean, I know there is such thing as interspecies communication, but this is just still pretty baffling.
It's the MacGuffin for the plot.
Yeah, it's a MacGuffin.
Okay, it's not quite a MacGuffin because it actually does stuff.
Okay, no. It's a important object whose nature is not entirely explained.
Wait, so that's a MacGuffin. Never mind.
No. MacGuffin is completely unexplained. This is like a halfway. It's just a Mac.
Of course. Okay. And so it turns out that this device can calm down the baby Mothra. And it turns out that's...
Which is good, because it totally was starting to kill people when, I mean, to be granted, they kind of fired first.
Yeah, well, they're humans up against something the size of the Empire State Building. I'm willing to buy that they were a little nervous.
Yeah, I'll get that.
So, suddenly, eco-terrorists attack.
Yeah. And
they
they kill most everybody, but then they apparently kidnap Emma and Madison, and we're led to believe that, like, they need Emma because she's the only one that can work this device, and they need Addison because, you know, why the hell not? And for a while, I was wondering about that.
I think it's to keep control over Emma.
Yeah, that's the most plausible thing, from what we know at that point in the plot.
Yeah. Then we cut to Russell, who's watching wolves eat a deer.
Yep.
Because that's what he does now.
He's a photographer, I guess. Good for
He
him.
studies deer and pack animals. And then Serizawa and his assistant, who I like but whose name I can never remember, show up, and they're like, hey, guess what? Your ex-wife just got kidnapped.
Yep.
And I'm not really sure what role he has in Monarch. Like, it wasn't made clear if he worked for them, but he was, like, giving people orders and they were following them.
I mean, I can only assume he's on the staff, but...
Look, it's not a good sign when I can think trope names while this movie's going on. And my thing was the main characters do everything.
Yeah, that was a lot of that. It was not clear why Mark had to be involved in half the stuff he did. Like, they inform him, hey, your wife's been kidnapped, and your daughter, and to find them, we need to track the Orca. Now, why the Orca would be trackable when it is not yet turned on, I'm not sure. Maybe you will track them when they do turn it on, because apparently it broadcasts a signal that goes across the entire planet. And I guess, you know, we just have to assume Emma will be at the same location as the Orca once it's turned on. When logically you could just, you know, get her to make sure it works and then take it far away from her. But, you know, okay, you want the technician nearby. These are things that are not, like, deal breakers, but there's a few layers of, like, okay, so I guess that might make sense, and I guess that would help too. Okay, fine.
Look, Anyways, and it's revealed that they're at Castle Bravo, which, yeah, good idea. Let's name it after the site of a nuclear explosion. And this is the chief...
Well, the kidnapped victims are not at Castle Bravo. Monarch hangs out at Castle Bravo.
Monarch does.
Okay.
But, like...
Which is like a oil
They
rig?
take Mark to Castle Bravo, which is an oil rig, which is secretly an undersea base where they study Godzilla, and they have one of the Muto's heads.
Just sitting there.
Yeah, I mean...
It's cool and all, but, like, are you just, like, really focused on Muto dental work or something?
Yeah, well, understanding how kaiju work, you know.
Yeah, but the amount of space you needed to do that, put that on an above-ground base.
Yeah. It'd probably be easier to get scientists and other researchers there if it was in an above-ground base.
Most places above ground are easier to reach, I've usually found.
Yes. Anyways, and it turns out that this place is where Godzilla's been hiding for the last 5 years, and no one has seen him since. But he's just been hanging out under the sea for no real reason.
What does Godzilla eat?
Yeah,
a lot of, maybe whales, I guess. He could munch on whales while he's down there.
I think he just eats radiation or something.
Yeah.
But anyways, so Godzilla starts pissing around and getting really pissed off and stuff about nothing, it seems, except that he suddenly starts heading off towards Antarctica.
Which is a problem because Monarch's got bases everywhere. They know 17 Titans.
There are 17 kaiju that they know about, but all of them are asleep for now. Meanwhile, the eco-terrorists, along with Emma and Madison, have gone to that base, and the eco-terrorists have slaughtered everyone at the Monarch base. And I'd like you to all to remember that the eco-terrorists have done this with Emma and Madison. Yeah. It'll hurt later.
Yeah, just a few minutes.
Anyways, so it turns out that they found Monster Zero, which I'm like, oh my god, that's another name for King Ghidorah, because King Ghidorah as a character has been rebooted more times than DC and Marvel combined with every other comic company ever. And one of his names is Monster Zero, which sounds cool until you stop to think about it, because why is it called Monster Zero if they've known about Godzilla longer?
My best guess is because they found him in Antarctica. It was really cold, and some dude was like, man, it's practically absolute zero out here. And then they named him Monster Zero. I have no idea.
Yeah.
You think they would just number them in the order they found them, right?
Right. But anyways, this is a super secret Monarch base, and it turns out that the bad guys are setting explosive charges to free King Ghidorah from the ice.
For reasons somewhat unknown, but we are told they are eco-terrorists who want to bring back balance, which is a very vague concept that's going to come back a few times.
You know, if these guys were scale, I could understand.
Scale?
Okay, in the 1998 Godzilla film was, a lot of people agree, not that great. Personally, I thought it was okay. Nothing groundbreaking, but nothing, offensively bad. Some people say, oh, it ruined Godzilla, but dude, I don't care. It's awesome. It's a giant monster wrecking a city. Do not care. Awesome. Plus, I personally think the 98 Godzilla is one of the better designs. It's unique without being offensive.
Okay.
Other people disagree. The reason I'm going on about the 98 Godzilla is because a series spun off of it. Godzilla the series. And in it, there was a monster island where they locked away all the kaiju that Godzilla beat. This is so that these monsters would, not be roaming around destroying the planet or whatever. Well, the reason I bring them up is one episode was on Monster Island when it was attacked by a terrorist organization called SCALE, Society for Creatures that Arrived Late to Earth. Basically, they're PETA, but with giant monsters and all that implies, including the wrong information and viewing the monsters as innocent victims, despite the fact that they're murdering millions.
Okay.
But they take over the island and use a mind control device to make the monsters run amok to prove their point.
I thought their point was to set the monsters free.
Yeah, they're not very smart.
Yeah.
Anyways, if these guys were SCALE, I could understand that. If these guys were the precursors to SCALE, I could understand that.
If these guys wanted to control the monsters, to use them as an army to kill off all their enemies and demand ransom from major world governments, I can understand that too.
But see, the problem is that the eco-terrorists aren't given much characterization outside of what we're given with Emma later on. And speaking of Emma, let's get back to the plot. For some insane reason, Mark has decided that the teams of soldiers that...
They send in soldiers to go free the hostages.
Monarch sends in soldiers to free the hostages.
Monarch,
for some reason, Mark decides, hey, all these guys with guns who are having a super hard time of this, they're not enough. I'm going out there with my pistol.
Even though by this point, most of them have already been shot dead.
Yeah, and also, here's another question I'd like to ask. Why should we trust you with a gun? You know, at least Brody in the last movie, he was a soldier. He was part of the United States military.
I think he was a Marine, if I recall.
Yeah, he was an expert in IEDs and defusing bombs and stuff. He worked in Fallujah and the Middle East. Who the hell is Mark? No, really. Yeah. Who the hell is Mark, and why should we trust him with a gun? And then it's revealed that, oh noes, Emma and Madison are working with the eco-terrorists. And in fact, we later learn Emma was the one who contacted the eco-terrorists.
Yeah.
We'll get to that scene in a bit, but what happens is that Emma activates the bombs that free King Ghidorah, which is still known as Monster Zero. They go through a whole thing later on about how his new name is King Ghidorah, but whatever, I don't care. And what follows is a fight scene that lasts just a few minutes, but is infinitely superior to the Godzilla vs. Ghidorah fight from the last Godzilla movie we reviewed.
The anime one, yeah.
Yeah. That one, Godzilla was standing still while monster head tentacles came down from the sky and kind of bit him a little bit.
Yeah.
This one, it is a knockdown, drag-out brawl for the fate of humanity. Sort of. I mean, because...
For the fate of these people right here, I guess.
Yeah.
At least.
Several named characters bite the bucket. We see several people get vaporized on screen by Ghidorah's gravity beams. We see Godzilla burst through the ice like the goddamn Nautilus through the North Pole. We see him blasting away at King Ghidorah and knocking him aside, but he's just tanking it.
Yeah, it was a big, epic fight.
Yes, and it was glorious. And unfortunately, Dr. Serizawa's assistant died, which kind of sucks because I thought that was his wife.
Oh, well.
I mean, like, there was nothing on screen to prove it one way or the other, but yeah. I was like... Oh, yeah, I think they're related, like, through marriage, maybe. Okay, I shipped them together, okay?
Yeah,
fine.
No, that's fine. We didn't hear much of her, but she seemed nice, and then she was gone.
And then she was just stomped on by Ghidorah. You know, that's fine. Fine. Not mad.
I guess maybe we could have a little more time spent on that grief or whatever, but alright, plot's gotta move on.
Anyways, King Ghidorah flies away, and Godzilla is left to lick his wounds, chasing after Ghidorah. Meanwhile, Monarch relocates to what I thought was initially a B-2 bomber, but instead it's like the helicarrier had a baby with a B-2 bomber?
Essentially, yes. There's a huge bomber that can apparently hover midair, helicarrier style.
Yeah, I don't...
They just have one of those.
Yeah, just... casually. And this is when we get the part where the movie really goes off the rails of quality storytelling and into the realm of how to piss me off. This is the reason why I said Emma is now burning in hell. This is the reason why Emma is my least favorite character, possibly in most of live action storytelling. Because here she comes on the screen and announces, I was working with the terrorists the whole time. My goal is to wake up all of the monsters in the world because humanity is a virus and humanity is so bad and so evil and we pollute the planet and kill the whales and we cut down all the trees and make sure to shoot all the bunnies and it's our fault Bambi's mom died and I should just burn all my clothes and replace it with hemp.
If that's all she did, she wouldn't be a villain. She goes far farther than that. She's completely aware that the monsters will kill off millions and billions of people. She does assure us that humanity will not go extinct, but that is a small consolation to the 95% of people that will die.
See, here's the thing. Generally, when your plan involves the death of most of the human race, and you refer to us as viruses, we don't like it. Even if you're right, and this will save the world, I don't like you, and I will fight tooth and nail to make you shut the fuck up.
And they didn't even sell this idea, because like they're clearly, from her performance and everything, they're clearly going for this angle of the well-intentioned extremist who honestly thinks sacrifices have to be made for the greater good. But it wasn't clear, like, what happens if you don't release all the monsters? I guess life continues as normal. Why is that a problem? Because of pollution. Oh, have you heard of things like environmentalism and cleaning up the pollution and passing a few laws? Because I think, like, that would be a better solution than the death of everyone.
Or releasing kaiju onto the world. Because let me check to see the last villains in a movie that released kaiju onto the world. Oh yes, that was the precursors from Pacific Rim. And they were the villains.
Yeah.
We didn't sympathize with them. We said, let's drop a nuke into the antiverse and laugh as they die. But no, she's saying this with complete sincerity, and what's worse, the plot sort of bears her out. Because, like, at the end, when the monsters are all released, we start seeing news articles about how the world is getting better. There's, like, new forests growing, and there's new species off of the endangered list. Okay, stop for a moment. Why would giant monsters getting released and releasing millions of tons of carbon dioxide and radiation into the atmosphere make belugas reproduce more? Why would that make, all of these species less on the endangered list and not, mutate the shit out of the survivors?
I don't know if all the monsters are nuclear, but yeah, it's confusing.
Yeah, do we have to attribute all of... You know what? No. We keep running into this where people say that humanity is so bad and so mean and so evil that the only way is to summon an all-powerful being to take care of all of our problems for us. Maybe I think that humanity can be better. We aren't doing great right now, but hell, we are trying our damnedest to do the best that we can. So any villain who says that humanity sucks and there is absolutely no redemption for them, they need to all be wiped out, that sort of character will never, ever be one that I sympathize with. Not now, not in 10 years, not in 50 years. It didn't sit well with me when I was 5. It didn't sit well with me when I was 10 or 15 or 20 or 25 or 29. No, this is everything that's designed to piss me off, because it just says we are so weak, so helpless, that the only solution is to believe that these monsters won't fuck us over.
Yeah, I don't sympathize with people who want to end humanity either. And this weird is the writers could have gotten to what they were trying to get to way easier. Let's suppose, first off, let's have an early scene establishing that pollution has gotten really bad in this version of the world, and the smog is closing up the air, and a lot of people are suffering that way. Okay. 2, let's have a scene where near Mothra and maybe some of the other hibernating monsters, like, plant life is weirdly accelerated, and we can we measure that and be like, okay. And she does briefly mention this during her speech, but it wasn't enough. Then 3, most crucially, let's have it be clear that her plan all along was merely to wake up the monsters, but control them with her orca, so that they would not go near any human population center, and they would just kind of wander about very docilely in the wilderness and cause more trees to grow, and that would purify the planet, and nobody was going to die. And then she worked with this guy, not realizing he was a terrorist. He pretended to be a good guy, and then he betrays her and goes, aha, I'm an evil madman and I want to kill everybody. And now she regrets teaming up with this guy. Then she could be someone who had good motives and just didn't realize what she was getting into. And I could sympathize.
The problem is that she does none of these things. She makes it very clear from the beginning that this was all her plan. That she was the one to contact the terrorists. She was the one to set this whole thing in motion.
And she's very much aware that billions of people will die.
What's worse, she did this because the military would kill all the monsters if I didn't do this.
Which is like a great idea. Yeah, military, you should do that.
When we're in favor of the thing that you're saying is the worst case scenario, I mean, it's like someone saying, "Oh, you can't inject me with this vaccine. It might make smallpox extinct."
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Okay, I have several things that you need to know about. I mean, you could interpret that as a shot against anti-vaxxers. You would be correct to assume so. Anti-vaxxers are stupid. But that's not what we're here to discuss. It's that we're supposed to take... Later on, she tries to redeem herself, and I don't know. She did not redeem herself.
She didn't earn that.
Your actions have single-handedly caused more deaths than... Could have caused more deaths than every war in human history combined. If Al-Qaeda was hated for killing a couple thousand people on September 11th, you have slaughtered millions, if not potentially billions, in the future. You are so far in the deepest pit of hell that they had to you know what? No, I'm not going to be hyperbolic about this. She is in hell right now, and I am happy that she will suffer for her crimes.
Yeah, I'm not defending her. I got no defense.
No.
I could give you a hypothetical other version of the character worth defending, but this one is just so absurd that there's nothing to say.
No. Anyways, because of this, they figure out that, she might be going to this place in Costa Rica or Mexico.
Yeah, no, I forgot where it was.
I can't remember where this is. God damn it. And they're going to wake up Rodan!
In Mexico, apparently. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to wake up Rodan, who's next on our list, I guess. That's cool. How do you go about waking these things up anyway? Was that ever clear?
Apparently you play this subsonic message of an alpha predator.
Right, but how did they wake up Mothra when she didn't have that thing built yet?
I think that was just a coincidence, honestly.
Okay.
Like, she just finished it the night before, and then she's testing it out for the first time when Mothra is doing stuff.
Yeah. Okay, I guess Mothra's waking up anyway. It was weird, though, because like one of the technicians mentions, like, I think this is being done to us from the outside, which is a reference to the terrorists, but the terrorists were working for her, so, I don't know. Okay, fine.
Anyways, but Rodan wakes up, and we can see how the goodness of Emma's heart as Rodan destroys everything in the city. Smashing it flat with shockwaves, chasing after fighter pilots who are trying to defend it bravely, and all of the fighter pilots who try to defend the city die, killing hundreds of people who have no defense against him.
Yeah.
So the only option they have is to lure Rodan into what they think is supposed to be a storm, but it turns out is actually King Ghidorah.
Right, they figure that out before they start the lure.
Okay, yeah, but they drag Rodan to King Ghidorah. King Ghidorah kicks Rodan's ass and forces Rodan to limp his ass back to wherever the fuck he came from, only for Godzilla to show up again. Apparently, they hand-wave this away that there's, like, secret tunnels under the earth that serve as shortcuts.
Even then, you are swimming remarkably fast, everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, there was, I guess, a time skip for the humans going between Antarctica and Mexico, but, still, in general, all these monsters, especially at the very end scene, are moving ridiculously fast.
And I have my own headcanon about that scene, but we'll get to it when we get to it, I hope. Speaking of which, last video was How to Train Your Dragon in the Hidden World. The reason why I mentioned that it would be really bad to remove all the dragons from the How to Train Your Dragons universe, and I never got to why, so I'm backfilling this in now. It's because one of the island that the Defenders of the Wing live on has an active volcano, and a dragon known as the Eruptidon lives there and is the only reason the volcano hasn't erupted yet. So if you remove the Eruptidon, the volcano erupts and you've just made the Defenders of the Wing homeless. I forgot to mention that last time, and I apologize.
Alright, well, now we know.
Anyways, so there's another cool fight between Godzilla and King Ghidorah. This time, Godzilla drags him into the ocean, which is a pretty clever tactic, because you always see Ghidorah on land or in the sky, never in the water. But Godzilla in this one is more of a water creature. So
I think it's the first time I've seen Godzilla swim. Normally he just walks in the ocean.
Well, I mean, he swam in the last movie.
Oh, well, I
In
forgot then.
2013. Yeah, that was actually kind of a plot point.
Yeah, you're right. Never mind. I'm remembering it now. Okay.
Anyways, so the Monarch people realize that, oh no, I mean, wait, this is a pretty good thing. Then the Navy contacts them. We're using the oxygen destroyer on Godzilla and Ghidorah.
Dun dun dun.
For those of you who don't know, the oxygen destroyer is a weapon that has its roots in the 1956 Godzilla King of the Monsters, or Gojira, the original Godzilla movie. And in that film, it was the weapon that killed Godzilla. No, I'm not kidding. The first Godzilla film ever ends with the monster dying.
Yeah, and it made a real interesting point about war and the nature of mankind while it was doing that.
Yeah.
Which this movie doesn't rise to those same heights.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, it looks pretty as hell, but like I said last time, it's not really much of a compliment to say that anymore, given that any major motion picture is going to be pretty. But I'm disappointed at this use of the oxygen destroyer, because the oxygen destroyer is pretty much the super weapon in the Godzilla universe. It was only ever used once. It can't be replicated at all. And it killed Godzilla. I'd like to say that again. This is a monster death that is never undone in the entire franchise. He doesn't come back to life. That monster is dead.
And then they use it in this movie. Or this version is a missile they launch at people.
Yeah, I mean, okay, you develop the oxygen destroyer and it kills nothing. Okay, it kills all the fish and wildlife.
Yeah.
That's fine. It severely weakens Godzilla. But King Ghidorah has no problems whatsoever. Rodan walks this off.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, but the oxygen destroyer
is kind of a pushover weapon.
It's flashy,
it's
but it doesn't do anything. It doesn't live up to the name of oxygen destroyer. Yeah.
So Ghidorah gets away and actually regrows a head.
Oh, Godzilla ripped off a head in the middle of the fight.
Which was really
and
cool.
We get to see Ghidorah landing on an erupting volcano, regrowing a head, which is so freaking awesome. And then Rodan swearing monster fealty to this thing.
Yeah, I landed on the volcano too, remember that.
And then, of course, it turns out that Emma starts realizing, hey, maybe this is bad thing that I've done, because Ghidorah starts roaring in such a way that it wakes up every kaiju on the planet. And they start destroying everything. And she realizes, when I woke up when I was planning to wake up all the monsters in the world to destroy the planet, I didn't think anything bad would happen.
It's really
and she's
bizarre.
like, has this sad face on, and she didn't mean to cause all this to happen.
Like, she mentions,
Fuck you.
yeah, she mentions, oh, we were planning to wake them up one at a time. Like, was that going to be any less destructive? Like, okay, some people get to live an extra week, but they still get stomped on in the end. So what the hell was the difference? And then she's all like, oh, this is different because Ghidorah is using monsters to destroy things. I'm like, what were the monsters going to do otherwise? You yourself were like...
Peacefully protest?
Yeah.
You're telling me that Anguirus is going to be carrying around a sign that says no more nukes? That Hedorah is going to be saying stop pollution? That the fucking Manda is going to be like sitting outside of Starbucks saying use reusable coffee cups?
That would be pretty persuasive coming from a monster, but yeah, no. There's no reason to think that any of them would act in that way. Ever. So, and then we're told like, oh, so it turns out Ghidorah's an alien. Because ancient myths said so. Because I guess ancient myths are really reliable these days.
Yeah, you know.
And mermaids are real too. Oh, what do you know? Everything is true.
Next thing you know, we'll be going to Atlantis.
Yeah, well, guess what?
Oh, wait.
So, fine, whatever. That's an old trope. All myths are true somehow. Or the ones that are useful to the plot are suddenly true.
Yeah, it's never like all myths are true except when we really need them to be.
Yeah. Don't
Don't worry, if you feed Ghidorah carrots, he'll be loyal to you. Yeah, no, stop, you are wrong.
So, yeah, Ghidorah's an alien and therefore is not part of the natural order of things. There's a very vague sense that the world had a natural order that was disrupted at some point, with no evidence of this being the case. And for that matter, isn't Ghidorah just part of the interplanetary order of things? Like, he's just a creature from a far distance.
Yeah, and if he wasn't part of the natural order, if his existence defies the rules that Earth life operates under, how is he alive? Seriously, this if it's so alien to us, shouldn't he be dead and stuff? Like, I don't know.
It's pretty weird.
I mean, yeah, extremophiles are a thing, but generally those are single cellular organisms. They're not kaiju.
So yeah, she's getting kind of upset about this. Madison is more upset. Madison was apparently in on the plan?
Madison was in on the plan, and she's like, "You're a monster. You were part of this!"
I mean, it would have been, again, so easy for the writers to be like, "Mom, you never told me." You know, and there was a couple lines that seemed to hint that she didn't know the full picture, but please, like, let us be clear.
You knew the basics of the plan, and you went along with it right up until everyone started dying.
Yeah, this is so
It's like you
weird.
didn't think that, hey, you thought that this was a Saturday morning cartoon where Godzilla could blow up Tokyo and there wouldn't be any casualties.
It's especially weird when her brother was a casualty of the previous Godzilla attack and Muto attack combined. So, like, the idea that releasing the monster will cause innocent people to die is one that should really be at the very forefront of your mind.
This is step one of the
This
plan.
is like step 0.
This is like based on the premise that monsters will do this. The whole reason Emma's doing this is because she grew into despair after her son died Godzilla
Which you
attack.
think would make her want to kill all the kaiju?
Yeah, I mean, that was a Star Trek The Next Generation episode where the crystalline entity killed this lady's son, and guess what? She dedicated her life to killing the shit out of this thing.
Right.
And then she killed the shit out of that thing.
And then in that case, she was portrayed as being the bad guy for that, but it was made at least fairly clear that the crystalline entity honestly had meant no harm and didn't realize what it was doing at the time, and we almost, just before she killed it, established communication to explain to it that, like, humans exist, please don't blow shit up anymore. And that might have worked. And then it was like, oh, okay, I can see both sides, and she wanted revenge, and, no, actually you can reason with these creatures. You can't reason with these kaiju. They just kill people. So why anyone wanted to not kill them is confusing to me.
Yeah. Heck, Mark, the first thing he suggests once he gets down to Castle Bravo is, so, when are we going to start killing these things? You should kill them. By the way, are we killing them? I mean, and I'm completely in agreement with Mark, given... I mean, like,
if
I
they
know
had
there
killed
wouldn't
them at the beginning of the plot, then there wouldn't have been a problem. Like, King Ghidorah would have died in the ice. All the others would have died. Godzilla could keep walking around the ocean for all I care. I guess he's content to just hang in the ocean. And Mothra would eventually make some lovely music for us all to listen to.
Speaking of lovely music, Bear McCreary helped compose this soundtrack, and it's glorious. I suggest people listen to it because it's great. Anyways, so... No, any attempts to make Emma seem more sympathetic or Madison seem more sympathetic, they do not work.
It was so easy just to make her not in on the plot. Change 5 lines. That's all you need.
Yeah, and then... Anyways, people start wondering, what the fuck is going on, because monsters are attacking literally everywhere on the planet, and they realize that they accidentally killed the Godzilla, which, halfway through the movie, you are not killing Godzilla halfway through the fucking movie.
We know he's alive. Come on, people. But yeah, apparently Godzilla and Ghidorah have had this ancient rivalry since forever, and I guess, Ghidorah makes monsters do evil things, but Godzilla, I guess, makes them do good things. But, like, in 2014, he didn't seem to have any ability to command the Mutos, though I guess he does now, because that'll come up later.
Yeah, it's why I consider that a fever dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways...
So Godzilla needs some help.
Wait, so apparently Godzilla... No one was monitoring Godzilla's body at all even though it's the body of Godzilla. You'd think that would be one of the things people would keep an eye on. And so Godzilla apparently fucked off to the Pacific Ocean on the other side of the Americas.
Did they say it was the Pacific Ocean?
Well, they're at Castle Bravo, so I'm assuming it's the Pacific. On the basis that Godzilla previously lived to the Pacific.
Right, but are they at Castle Bravo again near this part of the movie, or do they just bring over the helicarrier and all their shit?
You know what? I don't even know anymore.
All right.
I don't know where things are. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, one of those movies.
So they say, okay, the only thing we can do now is to have Godzilla fight against Ghidorah, because that worked so well the last 2 times we tried it, and it didn't work.
I mean, at least you got a head off of him. It's more than what the Oxygen Destroyer did.
Yeah, Oxygen Destroyer, I think, is mildly annoyed him.
Yeah. You should try a nuke on King Ghidorah. Unless nukes also make Ghidorah more powerful, but that's never been clear. Anyway, so, okay, fine. Let's assume nukes don't work, and absolutely none of the other ordnance in the world works. I would like to just see all the cruise missiles pointed at Ghidorah at the same time.
Yep.
There's a lot of cruise missiles, people. So many. But okay, assuming we can't do that, yes, then fine. Godzilla's our only hope. So we go down in a submarine and discover Atlantis. Like beneath...
No, I know what you're saying. We said that out loud. No, they find Atlantis through a hollow earth wormhole tunnel thing where the ancient Atlanteans worshipped Godzilla.
I mean, granted, they don't call them Atlanteans, but we're going to call them that. It's an undersea civilization. So
it's an undersea civilization that worshipped Godzilla, and Godzilla has a house here, apparently. I mean, not a house, like a cave that he just lives in and recovers, but it's full of radiation.
For some reason.
And so Dr. Serizawa's like, well, we tried sending in these unmanned probes to Godzilla to see what he is. And of course, these probes are so over-engineered that they can transition between being a submarine and an airborne drone. Because why not? Of course they can. Don't be stupid.
But notably, they cannot survive all of 3 seconds in the airborne mode. Because every one of them is like, here I am, and then it just goes dead for some reason.
So, an unmanned probe is completely incapable of operating in this environment with so much radiation that it causes electronics to melt. You know what sounds like a great idea? Let's send a person in there.
I mean, it was a whole heroic sacrifice thing.
But Dr. Serizawa, who... Okay, I get that this mirrors what Dr. Serizawa did with the original Oxygen Destroyer. Because in the original movie, Dr. Serizawa was the one who developed the Oxygen Destroyer. And in order to make sure that nobody would ever find out how to make the Oxygen Destroyer, because it was such a terrible weapon, he went down with the Oxygen Destroyer and killed himself after activating it.
And destroyed all his notes beforehand, yeah.
Yeah. This is supposed to mirror that, but...
It doesn't have the same theme. Like, the idea of original Godzilla is the horrors of war...
of nuclear war,
right? But the horror of, humankind, which, remember, Japan started this war. The Axis in general started this shit.
Actually, I think they launched the first military attack with the invasion
that's right.
of
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Japan was actually the first Axis on the march. So Japan started this whole shit for no reason, right? They did evil things, and it ends in nuclear war. And now, in a way, the people are being made to pay for the sins of their government and so forth. And Godzilla is like the revenge that came about from all this nuclear stuff.
I thought it was more about the fact that Godzilla was a direct allegory for the atomic bomb, as was the Oxygen Destroyer.
Well, yes, but that's also part of the revenge idea. We started a war, and then we got nuked. Why did we get atomic nuke? I know nuke is different from atomic bomb, technically. Why did we get atomic bombed? Why did we suffer so much? Because we, collectively, the people, the government, whatever, went and invaded and did shit. We started shit, and bad things happen as a result. So, although the individuals at Nagasaki didn't necessarily deserve to die, especially not the children, there was a sense of, we have been punished for our sins. So, in that first movie, facing down our sins, he has to grapple with the idea that, if I tell people how the Oxygen Destroyer works, this same nation that started shit before could use that to start shit again.
Okay, I didn't get the Japan specifically would start shit. I thought it was more along the lines of, this is a terrible weapon. like the terrible weapons of old, it can be used for deadly purposes, so I'm going to prevent this from being used as a weapon on anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a broader version of the same theme.
Okay, yes, I thought it was more broad rather than a specifically Japan must atone for its sins type of thing.
All right, well, I guess I don't necessarily know what the author had in mind. I have to go look it up. But
yeah.
In any case, it became really impressive that the guy who has created this great weapon, knowing the terrible things that great weapons can do, will only use it in circumstances that will make sure it's never used again because, terrible weapons are terrible. In this case, we have...
Terrible weapons are terrible. The catapult that launches jars of bees at people must be banned.
Yes.
Or the rubber sword.
Right. And I can say this a little more clearly. But in this version, it's just, a heroic sacrifice, but it doesn't have all those weighty themes around it about the nature of mankind and how often we go to war, or more specifically, the sins of Japan. It was more just like, well, shit needs to get done, and it is tragic that he dies, but it doesn't have the same narrative feeling to it. You know what I'm saying?
Also, was there a reason they couldn't just fire a torpedo at this thing?
I mean...
okay.
Yeah.
Serizawa could have, surfaced for 30 seconds, dropped the torpedo in a buoy, and then just left. I mean...
Yeah, he does this whole thing of walking all the way up to Godzilla, and you're like, it is a nuke. I'm pretty sure it will hit him from a distance of 100 meters. Unless it's like...
No, 100 meters is outside of a nuclear bomb's range.
Guess
Don't you know that the only reason why cities feared nuclear bombs is that cities are really, really tiny? So, yeah...
Okay, and they I like the setting of this. That he's in this temple or whatever, and he gets to say goodbye to Godzilla right before the end. But I wish I knew this character better, and I wish if we're doing this theme of we are returning to the worship of old and humbling ourselves before the gods, that there was some meat behind that and some reason. If a character who had previously been arrogant, not just in the Godzilla plot, but more generally in life, was now learning to be more humble. If someone who had always been selfish had now become selfless, then there would be the culmination of a character arc, and it'd be interesting. And it's like, oh yeah, it's that guy. I mean, it's too bad he's dying. Oh, too bad.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Dr. Serizawa. Even if he didn't do crap.
That's my problem with him, yeah.
But he was a likable character.
Yeah, he was.
Some ways.
It wasn't a bad scene, just could have been better.
Yeah, anyway, so the nuke goes off, and this completely heals Godzilla, because of course it did. Meanwhile, earlier in the plot, Mothra emerged from her cocoon, and she's Mothra now, and she flies over to Godzilla, and they're like, yay, we're besties now. Which is why Godzilla x Mothra is the newest fan pairing. I swear to God, I'm not making this up. This is a thing.
Okay.
There is fan art of this shit. Based on the one scene of Godzilla and Mothra defending each other and working together. To which I respond to you, Godzilla is a strong, independent monster who don't need no mom. Well, no, Mothra's a strong, independent bug who don't need no monster.
There you go, yeah. Either way.
Yeah, I don't know. I always view them as frenemies.
Yeah, because they have fought before in other movies.
Let's be honest, Godzilla will fight anything if it's moving.
Yeah. Godzilla versus the moon.
Well, if Godzilla Earth got any more powerful, they probably could make that happen. Anyways, so it turns out that Madison had a change of heart, steals the thing, and the orca, and because terrorist organizations are really lackluster with their MacGuffins they need for their evil secret plans to succeed. Oh wait, no, they aren't. When Tony Stark was better guarded in that cave than the orca was.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. Also, yeah.
So she gets away to Fenway Park.
For a second, I thought they were going to go the route of, she's going to take her mom with and convince her to go with. I did not want that. I wanted Emma to fucking die. Let me just rephrase this. I hate Emma. I know this has been subtle, but I hate Emma. Congratulations, Valka. You're off the hook. You have been surpassed as worst mother in the universe. Actually, no, Valka's still pretty high up there. You're just a shit person, Emma. Anyways, so Madison drives to Fenway Park in Boston and starts broadcasting the Alpha signal, which draws King Ghidorah away from Washington, D.C., where Ghidorah is busy curb stomping the entire U.S. military.
So apparently the Alpha thing works is if any monster hears it, they go docile unless you are an Alpha, which is only Godzilla and Ghidorah are Alphas, in which case you go find the Alpha to go gnaw his face off.
Yeah, this doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Unless they're using the same Alpha signal. Oh, right. They said that the Alpha signal that they're using is based on humanity, which is telling them to be docile.
Yeah, what is the bioacoustics of humanity? I feel like there's a lot of different sounds humans make.
Yeah, dude. I mean, listen to this guy, and then listen to me. Seriously, listen to me. I sound like Darth Vader with a head cold.
But anyway, I guess you put a human voice in there somewhere to make them think there's a third Alpha.
Please tell me it was Weird Al's voice you put in there. Because that would just be perfection. I mean, he doesn't have anything to do with the Godzilla franchise. I just think it would be really funny.
Yeah. Also, I'm just realizing, if the Alpha signal makes an Alpha come to you and ignore everything else that's going on, just put the Orca on a boat and have it circle around the Pacific constantly and just make the other Alphas like trail in its wake. And just keep that up year after year. Swap it to different boats once in a while. And you've solved the problem forever. Godzilla and Ghidorah are just running around in circles.
Or how about you put it on a boat, lure them to the middle of the Pacific Ocean with like 30,000 all of our nuclear bombs, and kill them all.
You think that would work, yeah.
Yeah, no, but instead, Mark says, Godzilla's going to fight King Ghidorah, except we're going to help him this time. Oh, yeah, because both of those plans have really worked out. Did you not catch that Ghidorah by himself was curb stomping the entire United States military? Like, there was a whole scene of how badly the U.S. was fucked.
I guess the idea in this case was Godzilla is supercharged. Maybe it will tip the balance.
Yeah, and why is Godzilla supercharged in this case when the Castle Bravo test didn't make him nearly explode? Because that's a thing. He starts overcharging on nuclear energy in the wake of Serizawa's shit, and he's going to explode in 12 minutes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, but that never happened before.
So Ghidorah shows up at Fenway Park and blasts Madison, but she gets away because she has plot armor. Like all the main characters.
Yeah, seriously. He's shooting gravity beams the same thickness as the length of a bus. But, like, they hit right behind Madison. She's fine. She's fine. Her DNA's probably, like, coiled into entirely new non-Euclidean shapes. But she's fine. Fine!
And Emma shows up looking for Madison. Oh, yeah. Emma tries to get away from the terrorists first. Because I guess when Madison runs off, nobody bothers with shit. But when Emma does the same thing, it's like a whole group of people with guns pointed at you. Yeah, and then they decide to let her go because, like, they just don't care, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like their purpose in the plot was just to give Emma some muscle.
Yeah?
I mean, it's like it's implied that they have better plans, bigger plans, but, like, what are they? Guys.
Kill everybody, I think.
Bueller. Anyways, so big monster fight, except the humans have joined in for about 5 minutes before Ghidorah shoots down all the human jets. And then it's just standard monster versus monster fight. Except Godzilla appears to be losing. And but then Mothra comes in. Except Rodan intercepts her, and there's a fight between Rodan and Mothra. And it's kind of cool. Rodan gets his butt kicked.
Yeah.
And then Mothra joins in the battle against Ghidorah and gets one-shotted.
Yeah, can't fight Ghidorah.
Yep, and her energy goes into Godzilla and ultra supercharges him or something. So, just as Ghidorah is about to start wailing on Godzilla, for some reason, Mark and Emma are able to put the Orca back together, because it got broken, in the rain, in the middle of a pitched battle between monsters the size of a football field.
I can only assume that all those electrical connectors are waterproof.
Somehow. And they make it work. And then one of my favorite scenes in the movie happens. Madison is forced onto the escape tilt rotor. And for some reason, no one in Monarch uses regular helicopters. They use only tilt rotors.
Yeah, I guess they just look cooler.
Yeah. Anyways, so Madison is forced on. Mark follows. Then Emma grabs the box and starts heading off to her own death. She volunteers to sacrifice herself, and which I'm like, yes! She's gonna die! Look, I've seen this type of movie before. Usually, if it's a pretty white lady with blonde hair who just means well and has been smoking way too much hemp, she usually survives for a redemption arc. But no! No! She drives away,
Drawing
Ghidorah away, until finally, Ghidorah lands a direct hit on the car, sending it end over end, and somehow she lands outside of the car, completely without a scratch on her.
Yeah,
because fuck you.
And then she gets to say a cool line just before she dies.
Which, fuck you. You did not deserve. You didn't
earn
that.
That's the thing is, it's like you're glad that she died, but you didn't earn the cool redemption style death, or the epic savior of people death.
Yeah, no.
I was kind of hoping, like, I'd expect, but honestly, if you want to take these actions seriously, you would, have shit happen, and then somebody just calls her a monster and shoots her in the head with a pistol.
Yes.
Like,
Yes, I was begging them to do that.
Yeah.
He can testify to this. I talk during movies. I'm sorry. I was saying shoot her in... I was chanting under my breath, shoot her in the head. Shoot her in the head. But no one shot her in the head. What happens is that Ghidorah stops before he eats her, and she says her one line, and Godzilla shows up and starts doing the nuclear pulse, which means she was vaporized off screen.
Which is, a less dignified way to die than getting eaten, perhaps. So
yeah, you were killed as an afterthought. You were killed as a side effect of the King of the Monsters showing up. Which means that currently she's getting reamed up the butt by pineapple dick demons in hell. No, I am not sorry for saying that. You killed more people than Osama bin Laden. You are in hell. Anyways, then there's another fight, and Godzilla completely owns King Ghidorah in this fight, and starts disintegrating bits of King Ghidorah so that he can't grow back. And here's the part where I'm pretty sure from this scene on, it's a dream sequence.
Because it makes no sense.
Yeah, because, okay, we see King Ghidorah's head start moving around again, because it's trapped in Godzilla's its neck is in Godzilla's mouth and he's eating it. And then it starts glowing blue from the inside out from Godzilla's atomic fire. It's roaring, it's screaming, and it's flailing around independently of the way Godzilla is whipping it around before it completely disintegrates. Then all of a sudden, some of the other monsters that we've seen in the background news reports start showing up, despite no one at all mentioning that, hey, there's multiple other kaiju heading to this exact location.
And they would have to travel at well over 1,000 miles an hour to get here on short notice, because their previous alpha died like 5 seconds ago.
Also, one of the monsters there is a Muto. The monsters from the last film that Godzilla specifically traveled thousands of miles in order to kill. And he's just apparently fine with the Mutos, with a Muto being here.
And the Mutos apparently submissive to him, even though the previous Mutos were not. I don't know, I guess different Mutos have different attitudes towards this guy.
Yeah, so this is why I consider it a dream sequence. This makes so little sense in so many ways. The only way I can reconcile it is that this is a dream sequence that Mark and Madison are experiencing when they passed out from the grief of losing Emma.
Yeah.
It would make more sense.
Yeah. But
anyway, Godzilla is silhouetted against the sun. He roars, end of the movie, and we see a whole bunch of news articles in the future that support Emma's hypothesis that the monsters are actually protectors of nature, that nature has some sort of will. It does not. You are a liar. I hate you. It also provides hints that a new egg has been found for either Mothra or something else, which I'm really hoping means Batra, because Batra has not received much love in the last ever.
Okay.
The other, it also sets up the King Kong versus Godzilla movie that will be coming up eventually. And then it cuts to the terrorists who are back in that town that Rodan came from, and they've managed to save the head of King Ghidorah that got ripped off. And the terrorists say, yes, we'll take it.
Because apparently they're going to make a Frankenstein zombie Ghidorah or something.
Yeah, there is a such thing as Mecha King Ghidorah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it is actually a Frankenstein cyborg Ghidorah. Anyway, so that's Godzilla, King of the Monsters. How was it? It is a summer movie. It is not deep. The characters...
If you want epic monster fights, please see Pacific Rim, the first one specifically.
Yeah.
Because that one made the characters really popped. And I'm not saying it was exactly Shakespeare, but they popped more than this. You know?
The characters actually... And the actors worked.
Yeah. They had better chemistry, and it was more interesting to watch. This one of the command staff on Mothra was, like, kind of aggressively boring. Like, one of them made cool quips that I found was kind of interesting, and the other one was like, why are you talking? You're going to do an exposition or something. I don't know. Shrug.
This was just... Plus, the plot and world of Pacific Rim made more sense.
Yeah, it did.
Because eventually they started building Jaegers because they realized the monsters aren't going away. There wasn't any of this, but maybe they're the good guys bullshit. There wasn't any of this other stuff. They realized this is a threat. We need to deal with this in a realistic way. So they built giant robots. Admittedly
not super realistic, that part, but that's
more realistic than Monarch being given time to say, hey, the monsters are all good, despite you only having you only have a few examples of monsters on your records, all of which are capable of blowing the shit out of cities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, if you're trying to do this King of the Monsters angle, where it's either Ghidorah or Godzilla controls the other monsters, and Ghidorah will do evil things and Godzilla will do good things, we need to establish that somehow. You know? And,
because last movie, they didn't try to establish some grander purpose for Godzilla or any other kaiju. They established this is just the food chain, but on a different scale. Godzilla is an alpha predator, and the Mutos are competitors for his territory or food supply or whatever, and so he's going to destroy them, because that is what they do. It wasn't Godzilla is making sure that these particular Mutos don't bring it out of balance, and in fact, the presence of a Muto later in the film hurts that message, because what was the difference between these Mutos and the other Muto?
I don't know. That was never made clear. Yeah, they could have done this better.
Yeah, again, the first Pacific Rim film was better. I still recommend going to see this movie. You have to turn your brain off a little bit, which is hard for us, but let's be honest, if you're going to see a Godzilla film, you're not going for the deep, intricate storytelling.
Usually not. Not really what that
Also, the over the credits scene is Bear McCreary's version of Godzilla the song, covering Blue Oyster Cult's version. I advise you go check it out. You can probably look it up online, or you can buy it from iTunes for $1.39.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
About it.
Anyways, yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Sith King.
I'm Sox Sense.
Signing off.